Okay, welcome to the InternNE powered by Exarban webinar. I'm Shauna Dorsey with the Exarban Foundation, and today I'm here with my co-host.
Yeah, I'm Michaela Soundy. I'm at Grand Island Senior High, and I do all of our work-based learning here.
Excellent. And today we're joined by our special guest, Mike Young. Welcome.
Hi, yeah, thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. So these are pretty casual conversations on our webinars. We do send you a list. We try to stay on script. We're like 99% successful to date. I think we're really good at that. But if you don't mind kicking us off with just an intro of you.
Yeah, been in transportation for, I'm probably getting close to 20 years. Been with GIX for just a hair over 16 of those. I had the extreme, I think, fortune to have really good timing when I came over, and an opportunity to kind of bounce around between both GIX and our sister company, Grand Island Express. And so I got to see kind of all sides and interact with all groups before I got into my current role, which is Vice President of GIX. And it really gave me, I feel, some insight into how each team worked together. Were they, pulling in the same direction? Were they pulling in opposite directions? Did their goals align? And all of those things. And it really kind of shaped how I thought I wanted to run GIX when I got the opportunity. So, yeah, I live in Grand Island and have 4 kids, so running all over the place, and we're in the absolute heat of basketball, 5th grade basketball season, and wrestling just wrapped up, and then we got Christmas next week. So yeah, busy.
Yeah. You want to kick this off, Michaela?
Absolutely. So we're just going to kind of go ahead and get started here, just make sure we can get done on time. So can you share with us the key strategies that help GIX Logistics go from the bottom 25% of the brokers to being now in the top 75 within the entire country?
Yeah, so and I think one of the things we always point out on that is that was all organic growth. So we didn't go buy anybody, we didn't merge with anybody, we didn't acquire another brokerage or anything like that. We have some really good. I have a really strong mentor and a gentleman that has previous experience doing this with other freight brokerages, and a lot of it was just developing a pipeline of talent, specifically with UNK, and hiring really good people, training them even better, and then working really hard to retain them. We probably focus on our people as much as we focus on customers or vendors or anything else like that. So I think development, how do you make sure the right decisions are being made and not have to micromanage those decisions, I think has been one of our keys to our growth, is we've got really well trained and ironed out folks that can handle stressful situations in stride and make good decisions. And that comes from just working on them and putting in time and energy and effort into them. So
Mike, can you tell us about your leadership style and the role it's played in scaling GIX?
Yeah, I love that question, because I think you have to be, I think the most dangerous thing in any company is a person that believes they're a good leader and isn't. I think that is incredibly dangerous for a company, and I don't believe that there's a single leadership style. I think there's that idea of servant leadership. I think there's that idea of lead from the front. I think there's idea from lead from the back. And I think that all of those are right at any given situation or scenario or circumstance. And you just have to recognize which one is the right one. Do you lead from behind and let your people make the decision and be the folks that are making the decisions and fixing the problem and coming up with the idea and executing the ideas? Do you notice that your folks are lost and they absolutely need you to grab their hand and pull them through something? And then are there moments where your people don't necessarily need leadership, they just need something from you? They need support, they need encouragement, they need light, kind of almost nudges in the right direction. And so I think as a leader, you have to recognize those things. And it also that to me is a more appealing, that creates a more appealing workplace, a more appealing, they feel like they're going to get what they need when they need it versus just kind of one style. Man, I really wish Mike would step up and help me, but he's just continuing to stay behind. Or I really wish Mike would let me take the lead on this project, but he continues to want to do that. And I think that, you know, being able to recognize what they need and when they need it, and lead in the manner that best fits that scenario is probably the best way to do it.
I've personally seen that just in the years that I've gotten to work with you. So I think it's been pretty awesome. Tell us about the impact that the interns have had on GIX Logistics over the years, and how do you ensure their experience is meaningful and productive?
I love our internship program. I'm obviously very biased towards our specific internship program, but the reason it's so valuable for us is, one, it creates that pipeline of candidates. It's a very relaxed initial relationship with our interns. There's nothing crazy. One of the points of contention that we had early with UNK was our internship is not project based. It is like it's live, right? We want our internships in it with our people, and our business is not project based, and it is minute to minute deadlines and minute to minute issues. And so if we're going to bring an intern in, we have to know that they're good in those scenarios and good in those situations. And sitting them over in a corner by themselves and plugging them into an Excel sheet doesn't do that for us. So we have to sit them next to our folks, and they have to experience it real time and kind of live. One of our former interns said that it was like GIX sends you into battle, and live fire is kind of going past you, but they give you the world's best bulletproof vest. And so we don't let an intern get like in trouble. We don't let them make a decision that's going to hurt them or hurt us, and but we allow them to be out there experiencing it. So that's important for us. The other really cool part about our internship is it's like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 fresh faces about every 6 months, and it just brings in a different energy, you know, once or twice a year to our whole group, and that has value in itself. One of the really cool things is our very, very first intern was Chad Pfeiffer, and he still works for us. He's a freight broker, a freight manager for us, and so yeah, it's helped us grow. It's given us a pool of candidates. It keeps the energy, I think, in the office fresh. I think those are the things that it's probably done for us the most.
You guys have had a beautiful way of when you walk into that office. One, I've always said it doesn't feel like Grand Island, Nebraska, but also the fact that you have individuals from 50s on down, and they're all working together so well, and that is just, it's unique, but it's so neat to see. Yeah,
I'm not saying they work great together every day of every minute, right? We have our stuff. We've got our moments, but for the most part, yeah, we've done a good job, and that's them. That's them, deciding that, hey, this can work, or this will work, or this does work this way. And I think that's part of not just me, but our leadership on the floor as well. It's like, hey, it's just easier if we kind of all get along, and it's just easier if we kind of just we can agree to disagree on certain approaches or certain aspects, but once that happens, we're moving, and we're not going to dwell on it. It's not going to be a sticking point, and we're going to move quickly and decisively. And that is a little bit of me, maybe, but it's more so our leadership our leadership team out on the floor. They're tremendous.
That's outstanding. Mike, I know we haven't spent much time together. I think we had one panel discussion.
And I showed up late for it.
What's that?
And I showed up late for it.
I wasn't going to say anything.
I
thought you still made great contributions to that. That was great. But can you tell us about what skills you look for in young talent, or qualities is a better question?
Yeah, I think that so we had a really talented recruiter that worked for us for a long time, almost 7 years, and it was fun to work with her and get her developed, and because she could kind of spot it like like that. And what sometimes happens at GIX, but I think it happens a lot here, is that we work so hard on folks that they get developed and they get opportunities at other places that maybe we can't give them. And that's kind of what happened with her. And so now we've got Sammy Rock in that role, and she's been with us for a long time in other roles. And so, and I'm already kind of starting to see it with her, where she kind of immediately gets it. And some of that is because she understands the type of person that she wanted to work with when she was managing our customer service department, or when she was in our customer service department. And so she kind of immediately gets it. I can kind of recognize it pretty quickly. We just had a interview with a young man. We actually met them at Chicken Coop and Kearney, and we offered him on the spot. And you can just kind of tell sometimes. But essentially, what we look for is I need somebody that is going to self-start. We don't micromanage our folks. I don't have time to, or my leadership team doesn't have time to. We correct and kind of move. So if you need somebody, if an intern or a new hire needs somebody that is going to be over their shoulder pointing at the next place where they need to click, or the next email they need to answer, they're not going to like working at GIX, because you're not going to get that type of direction. We will train you, but once you're trained, our expectation is that you're going to kind of hit the ground and go and ask questions as needed, but not necessarily need to be pulled through every aspect of your role. The second thing we look for, so we want to self-start. The second thing we look for is how well do you work with others? You're going to work on a big team. You're going to be around a lot of people. You're going to interact with, on any given freight movement or load, you could be working with 4 or 5 different GIX folks. So how well do you interact, and how do you work with others? And then the third thing is, are you coachable? I think I mentioned earlier in the webinar, I think one of the most dangerous things for a company as a leader is somebody that thinks they're a good leader and isn't. I think one of the most frustrating aspects of a manager or somebody that's coaching people or trying to develop people is working with those that are either unwilling or unable, or unwilling or unable to identify a weakness that they want to work on. I have a ton of them, and if you can't admit them, it's really hard to go work on them and develop them. And so, are you coachable? Can you take coaching, and can you walk out of my office or Chris's office or away from an operations supervisor's desk and go apply and execute that coaching? So those are the 3 things that we really look for, along with, I guess that sometimes there's just that instinctual it factor that you run into people. They have it, and you know that you. In the past, we have hired people that we didn't even need just because I didn't want them working somewhere else. So you just find those people. When you're not sure, you need to really ask questions that surround, I believe, weaknesses and their ability to work with other people. If you ask what their biggest weakness is, and they say, I'm a perfectionist, I don't know. Like, I sometimes struggle to meet deadlines. That'd be great. We can work on that. Yeah.
Yep, that's cool.
How does GIX go about fostering a culture that encourages professional development, both for long-term growth, but also for your employees and long-term employees and your interns alike?
So I mentioned our consultant earlier, and he's a former college professor of sales and marketing at Western Illinois University, and he has a background in sales and marketing out of the transportation industry when he was younger, and all those things. And so he developed a pretty cool program of just a sales process, and then kind of a coaching regimen. And I remember when I first started working with him, I've always felt like I've had I got my hands kind of on the pulse of my people for the most part. Even as a young manager, I felt pretty confident that I kind of knew who my folks were and what made them tick, or at least to a certain extent. And he told me, he's like, you're going to coach your people once a week, every week, and they're going to love it. And I said, well, they're going to hate it, because I don't think I would like it, and I think I know my people. And turns out maybe he just kind of knew people's psychological makeup more than I did, because what happened was, when we started coaching, and my schedule would get in the way, I would be traveling, I would be on vacation, I would just be out. I would come back and they're like, hey, when are we making up that coaching? And it turns out that they didn't hate it. They absolutely look forward to it. They want the feedback, they want the development, they want the input. And I think that is what led to it. And the hard part I think there's a lot of companies that love the idea of having a somewhat rigid coaching structure and then never find the time to do it. You have to put it on your calendar, and you have to hit it, and you have to meet it. And if you don't, you have to make it up. And if you can be committed to it, if you can focus on it, you're going to really like the results from it. And it doesn't have to be sales. A lot of ours is sales coaching, but we also do leadership development coaching. And it's not that I don't fall off. We fall out, like, especially towards this time of year. I mean, I'm 2 or 3 coaching sessions behind, and so we've got to really work when we get back from holidays, especially on the leadership side of getting back on schedule and getting back in the groove of things, and getting those things caught up and back to the spot we want them. So it's not that we run perfect, but we are intentional with it. We are focused on it. And all that does is create confidence. It creates the ability for better and quicker decisions to be made. And that's really all we're looking for, right? Like, I think any business, when you've got employees, if you are bottlenecking the decision making, your company is not going to grow. If you are bottlenecking, if every decision has to walk in my office and then walk back out, we're going to move really slowly. If we have our people trained, developed, and empowered to go make those decisions, and we're confident in those, it's not that we don't have to correct them sometimes. It's not that we don't have to fix some things. We do, but I'd rather have a one. I'm really fond of saying, is this a 1% issue? Because if it's a 1% issue, we're not dealing with it. And that saying has grown so much that I've got on floor leaders like that will a problem will be brought up from sales, and I will see in an email from one of my operations supervisors, and they'll say, "Is this a 1% issue?" And I'm like, "Well, maybe I've created a little bit of a beast there," but that's kind of how we view stuff. It's like we need to move quickly and we need to move decisively, and you can't do that if you don't have folks developed to make those decisions and kind of essentially run your company.
Good. So many gems, Mike. So what advice would you give to businesses looking to implement or improve their internship programs and attract talent for sure, but retaining talent?
So I think, I mean, the first thing is, I think I'll just go through the boring stuff first. So the first thing that a university is going to want is they're going to want an internship job description. So get that done. Usually what that is the smear of some of the minor duties of most of your roles. So ours would be like data entry, appointment scheduling, track and trace. Like it's not everything track and trace does, but it's making a phone call. It's not everything data entry does, but can you enter the information into our system the right way? It's not everything that appointment scheduling does, but do you understand illegal and efficient transit, and we need to train you on all those things. And so it's building that job description out so that you can hand it to a career services person at any university, and they understand what the internship will be. That's the first part. The second part is have some sort of idea on how, like, if that intern shows up today, who are they talking to? Like, who are they going to go talk to? Who are they sitting with? Who's training them? What does that first day look like? Who's doing paperwork with them? So that's the boring stuff. The fun stuff with an intern is you got to get up and go to the school. They're not going to come to you. You have to go find them, and you have to probably show up more than once. And it's developing a relationship and a rapport, and it's sales is kind of what it is. But you have to you got to be there, and you got to be interacting with them, whether that's through panels, whether that's through career fairs, whether that's through class presentations, whether it's through a networking event, whatever it might be. You need to go. So if that's UNL or UNK or Wayne State or wherever you're going, you got to be active, or you got to find somebody that wants to be active on campus. And it is a time commitment. It's not a huge monetary commitment, but it is a time commitment, and you got to go do that. And if you do it right, and you hire the right folks and you find the right folks, it will kind of start to self-recruit a little bit. We really like bringing in folks after their freshman and sophomore year. And the reason for that is because if they like it, if they have a good experience, they go back to campus for 2 or 3 years and kind of turn into an extension of our recruiting effort. So effort, and I think that's always been the thing that has kept people from doing it. It's like, well, I don't have time to go do that. I don't have a person that can go do that. It's just like coaching. If you want it, you have to find the time. You have to find the time to go do it. And then after that, for the interns experience, you just need to, either very strictly abide by that job description that you gave in, that you turned in, or that you developed, or make sure that they're seeing kind of every aspect of whatever the job that you might hire them for. So for us, it would be, can we have a rotation of 2 weeks in operations and 2 weeks in customer service? And when they're in operations for those 2 weeks, they need to be able to help brokers and track and trace, and they need to understand, they need to get in on some negotiation, and they need to get in on some ETAs and figuring out miles per, like all those things. There's some math and there's some soft skills when it comes to communication. And then on the customer service side, they need to interact. I mean, we have had interns straight up cover for our customer service reps. So we have interns talking to our customers and interacting with our customers. And you have to expose them to those things and train them on those things if you're going to expect them to do them. So it is giving them a real look at your company, and not tucking them away in a corner. I think is a big part of whether or not you're going to have an opportunity to hire them after their internship.
I'm going to have you expand a little bit on kind of what the environment looks like and how you work to get your interns involved out in the community so they can start meeting people, because I think that's such a key part for businesses. Is sure, we can attract them here. Grand Island obviously struggles to keep young people here. So you guys take it a little bit further than I think a lot of companies do to help keep them here in the area and to retain them.
Yeah, so I don't want to word this. Well, I think that's a great point. I think we've taken a small negative step back on that, and we need to ramp back up over this next year. I think 2024 in general was a different type of year for us as a company. But yeah, previously, before 2024, and we will ramp this back up in 2025, we were very active with employee engagement, period. Employee events. We got our group together outside of the office with 3 or 4 big events. It might be a tailgate down in Lincoln. It might be I don't know how this sounds for an internship, but if you just bear with me, like a pub crawl kind of in Kearney. We did a golf outing. We did a day at the horse races in Grand Island. And so those help immediately, because now you're surrounding yourself around with people that maybe you're not interacting with every single day. We do a pretty good job of getting in front of everybody within the office, but those events help. And then the other thing that we did a really good job of with the last 2 classes leading into 2024 was we really got them interacting with, just through community stuff. So it would be, we would do a partnership with why am I blanking on the accounting firm here in town? Oh my goodness, Lutz. Jeez Louise. Yeah, Lutz. So we would do a partnership with Lutz, and then I think actually 1 or 2 other companies got involved in that. So all those interns came together, and they did a tour of downtown, and then we hosted a dinner or a lunch, and they got ice cream, and Lutz had a few volunteers, and we had a few volunteers, and I think there were a few other companies involved in that, and that's something that I think really helped and really worked, because it sometimes they don't realize, you might have a class with somebody that's doing an internship in Grand Island that you don't even know is doing an internship in Grand Island, and you go back to UNK and you're like, I was in Grand Island this summer. Well, so was I, but I didn't even see you. Well, if we can get all the interns kind of together, now they understand, it's like, well, if I move to Grand Island and I start working at Grand Island, and you're going to move to Grand Island and you're going to start working in Grand Island, it makes it a little easier to do those things and make those decisions. So that event, that intern event that was kind of done through us and Lutz, I think the chamber helped with that as well. I think Courtney, when she was at the chamber, helped us out with that as well. So that is something that we probably want to do again and get kind of figured out and restructured and do that again, because I think that did really help.
Definitely. I think just across the state too, when we think about like Omaha, Lincoln can pull those types of events off pretty easily just because of the size. But when we're looking at like Broken Bow, North Platte, areas like that, where it's like, okay, there might be 1 or 2 interns at a company and they're a little bit spread out, getting them together and just showing like, hey, wait, there are other young people here.
Yep.
Working on interesting things. We can talk about our experiences, that's huge. So totally agree and would love to support that if you do that again next year. Sounds like you will, but we would love to support that. We have time for one more question. So Michaela, why don't you take this one or make it up if you'd like?
I think the next one is great because I think it puts it back to, so based on your experience, what advice do you have for interns to make the most of their opportunity and stand out and be competitive in industries like transportation?
I mean, do internships. I think that's the biggest part of it. Is I think one of the best questions I asked Shauna on that panel was like, I had there was a bunch of high school kids, FBLA students, and I said, raise your hand if you're going to get a summer job. And I think everybody but 1 or 2 raised their hand. And then I said, now raise your hand if you're going to do a summer internship. And I think 2 kids raised their hand. And I'm like, what's the difference? There's no difference. The one is you're not stocking shelves or being a lifeguard, and the other one is you're going into a professional setting and probably learning, or even more importantly, and I tell this to students at UNK and UNL all the time, the biggest value of an internship is not to figure out what you want to do. It is often to figure out what you don't want to do. And it is a no strings attached paid experience to figure out more often or not what you want to cross off your list versus what you want to add to your list. And so I think the worst thing that a college student can do is go 4 years, do 1 internship, and then only stay with that company and not have any other experiences outside of that. What if you don't even know you hate what you're doing? That's a nightmare to me. Like, to not be able to show up and even on the worst days, somehow lightly enjoy what you're doing. And so I think that would be my recommendation is make sure you're getting out and you're doing them. That's a big part of it. I think that a student that approaches our booth or comes up and talks to us after a class presentation that says, yeah, I already have an internship lined up for this summer. I think I can't prove this. I don't have any stats to back this up, but it certainly does feel like we are immediately more engaged with that student about the fall semester, spring semester, and next summer, only because of that student's focus. It helps us move quicker with them, right? So they are presenting themselves as somebody that, like, I know that I want to get these things done. And I know I want to have these experiences, and it makes it a lot easier to extend a hand and say, okay, well, let's have one of those experiences be at GIX. So my recommendation to any student, high school or college, would be to college specifically, but high school as well. Make sure you're out there, make sure you're doing them. I think that I can't say it's the worst thing that you can do, but one of the things that you're not necessarily doing yourself a ton of favors on is going back home and going back to that summer job when there's other opportunities out there for you to have professional development and networking. I can't explain to you how much of the things that I'm able to get done in a given week, month, and year is because of who I know. And I only know those folks from going to conferences, being active. Honestly, UNK has been going to a career fair at UNK is almost as much for me as it is for the students, because I get to see there's other employers there. I get to interact with other professionals. And so start developing your network now, and it'll pay you back later for sure.
Absolutely. And one final thought I'd like to leave students with, who, if there are students watching this recording when it's live, is that networking is not cheating. Some of them might feel like, oh, wow, I didn't do all the heavy lifting. I'm like, that's the whole point. You can actually do much more when you have a group of people working on a single thing. So, Mike, thank you so much for being here. Michaela, thanks for this recommendation. Great, great conversation. And we look forward to partnering with you in the new year for sure.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Ready? Take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye.